Hi, my name is Darren Zupke, and I'm here with Benjamin Moermond, Principal Bassoonist of the Hong Kong Philharmonic. Today, we're going to be talking about our teacher, Judy LeClair, and her 2010 recording of the Andres Chants derrière saison for bassoon and harp. Thank you for joining me, Ben. If you wouldn't mind, could you first tell me a little bit about your experience studying with Judy?
Well, hi, Darren. Nice to see you after so many years. We were obviously studying around the same time and had a lot of fun. Yeah, studying with Judy was fantastic. I think anybody who's worked with her for a number of years knows that she's about as supportive of a teacher as you could possibly find. Somebody who's always going to um, encourage and recommend you and really fight to try to give you the best opportunities to succeed and find your career path. And uh, I would say in lessons themselves, somebody who's really just relentlessly encouraging, always extra time, always help with reads, um, and always saying you know sounds great, but you could do something better. And I think that's something that really has always stuck with me.
Wow. Well, I was curious too. Judy has us all do crazy mildies. We do some rep for like recitals, but what was your experience working on excerpts and preparing for auditions with her?
Yeah, I think one of the things with Judy is you start training your excerpts straight away. So I think by the time you are ready to graduate or you're in your master's program, these excerpts are really ingrained in your system. You know them so well, and even if it's a lesson where you're working on some solo rep or something else, you know, you might get a little pop quiz of pulling out one of the standards.
Oh, and I remember she used to always put us on the spot if like a student was coming in. She'd say, "Oh wait, you have to listen. You have to listen to Ben play Rite of Spring."
Yep. Yeah, you had to do it, and that's good. It's better that way, actually. I think the idea that no, nothing is protected. I think sometimes um, we think that our practice sessions are sacred. We don't want to be heard, but in the end of the day, I think we just always need to be more open about playing in front of people and the public, right? Because yeah, that's the gig. Unfortunately, that's just what we have to do. For her, one of the things that she really does in lessons, which is, I think actually when you look back on it, is a teacher who's really giving is just playing, being willing to always demonstrate and play their instrument for you in a lesson.
Right.
Play a duet, like if it's a two bassoon excerpt, and oh, just say, well, just maybe try to play it like this. And I think that process of also always having the reminder of it's not just somebody that's kind of picking your playing apart. You're actually seeing directly what you're trying to work towards. I mean, for me, I think this is when I think of Judy as an artist and as the teacher that you and I studied with, this is really this is kind of the definition of her playing and I think what she was going for artistically. I think it is perfectly her in a sense of you hear a perfectly smooth singing sound, um, generally an open sound. So in this piece we have you hear she hits every note with rich tone and even vibrato. It's a piece I think perfectly suited and almost in a sense written for her, which it technically wasn't, but um, I think you hear really you immediately sort of transport into the world as it's just a song. And this is what I think she sets her apart from many other players is just if you want to sing a simple song, and she can do this with such a beautiful line and even tone. So I think this is for me, this is my favorite recording of her playing out of everything she's put out. This is probably my favorite, and I think represents the sound that we heard, for example, in the at the New York Philharmonic most weeks or week in week out. Yeah, just a rich singing, deep sound, and I think technically, if you when you sort of look a little closer at it, where you see what makes it happen, and I think it is uh, a couple of things, which is a very open singing palette with a steady stream of support and air. Of course, as you know in our lessons, always perfectly combined with your finger movements, coordinated, and so that's how we achieve this really long, smooth, sort of uninterrupted line. And especially when she goes and hits the B flats, bum, 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 ba, da, 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 da. This is she hits it bullseye, sound and intonation. And I think combine that with an even sort of vibrato, and there's a way in which she does this and sort of and taught us a little bit, I think, is how to cushion the sound so that we release your pressure on the reed, and instead of having a more compact and direct sound, you get this sort of this aura of the tone that exists in a bit wider space than it would otherwise. And I think you really hear that in this recording. What is the most sort of singing, what is the most pleasant way the bassoon sound can be presented to you? And you just don't have to think about anything else. And technically, I mean, as a thing that comes to my mind is just when she hits the high register and goes, it reminds me of like, one of the things she always talks about in the lessons is to keep your top lip down, and
Hmm.
she'll kind of address this in a variety of ways, which is to keep it down, to stay open, keep your crown long. They all essentially do the same thing, which is don't sort of squeeze down when you hit the high register, and that's why when she's able to transition up in that register and with such a smooth and sort of a tone that doesn't strike you as like, oh, it's a bit more difficult up there or it's pinched or anything. No, it just comes out just effortless and singing just like she is in the middle register.
That I remember, especially like working with Rite of Spring, like she would always have me start on the middle C, and you have the same openness, but just you know then change the fingers to the upper high C and have that almost the exact same kind of relaxed embouchure, but yeah, like you're saying, just a little bit more top lip to keep it super open and resonant. And like in this example that we just listened to, I'm still amazed after all these years how she can play up there so evenly, because each note, like the temperament and the strength of each note gets so fussy up there. It's like one note's weak, one note's too strong, but she just balances it so well. And I think that's what you're talking about is this is that constant sort of very, very loose but cushioning embouchure and extremely open cavity in your throat for sure. I think about that all the time.
Yeah, this one has a bit more, I think, flair to it. You get the surprise of the wider range. Um, you hear the real low register of the bassoon, which she gets such a woody sort of tone in there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then this floating sort of pure sound in the high register as well.
Yeah, it's such a good example of how she just has like this, it's almost like two people, two different players. Um she's got everything worked out with the intonation in the low register. It is super resonant, like you're saying. And then I think one of my favorite notes of hers, I know that's very nerdy and specific, but is her high C's just like have a quality that I don't think any other bassoonist has.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I agree. Just to hit that note all the time with because you know what it's like. It can be a very thin note, and
mhm,
I mean some days if you don't feel your most powerful or your most secure, you kind of have to maybe err on the side of safety,
mhm,
which is just to punch it, get it out a little bit first, and then open
yeah.
the sound. I think you can learn to manipulate that over time, but she definitely has a different way that she's always able to get that with perfect intonation and open sound.